I'm Emily C. Bunrang, and in this video, I'm gonna show you 4 hip mobility exercises. If you're a desk jockey, or if you stand for long periods of time, this video is for you. Now there's many great benefits to these moves. 1, it's gonna help promote blood flow and nutrients into your hip joint. 2, it's gonna help you learn joint control. 3, it's going to improve your joint function. And 4, it's going to help maintain your joint health. Now, if you don't use it, you lose it. Now, don't you want to keep it? So follow with me as we go through these 4 exercises. The first exercise is going to be standing flexion to extension. So you're going to grab a wall or a chair, something you can hold on to. You're going to lock one standing leg, and you're going to bend your knee as much as possible. From here, bring your knee up as high as you can, standing up nice and tall. Find how high you can bring your knee, and then from there, you're gonna pull your thigh back as far as you can. Squeeze in your end range of motion. Come back up, and pull that thigh back. Make sure, as you pull your thigh back, we're not letting the pelvis tilt. So keep your tailbone tucked, and fight your pelvis from untucking. Continue to move, follow along with me. Take it nice and slow. Try to keep the same pace that I'm going. We're not going crazy fast or crazy slow. All right, let's switch sides. Lock that standing leg, arm across the chest. Bring up that knee as high as you can and squeeze that invisible tennis ball. Pull that thigh back. No arch in the low back. If you haven't done this before and you max out your end range of motion pulling your thigh back, you might get a little cramp in your hamstring. That's okay. Cramping just means it's neurological confusion. You've never really been in that range of motion and your body is kind of like holding on, doesn't know what to do. But I promise you, the more you perform these, the less likely you're going to continue to cramp. Couple more. Bring up that knee as high as you can. Pull that thigh as far back as you can. The next exercise we're going to do is flexion to abduction. So I'm just going to show you here, straight on. You can still use a wall, or if you happen to have a PVC pipe, that's great too. Grab onto anything. Now the outside leg, you're going to lock the standing leg, bring up your knee as high as you can. From there, keep that height as you open up the hip as wide as you can into abduction. What I don't want to happen is when you open up, your whole pelvis turns. So try to keep your pelvis as squared as possible, as if there was a laser. If there's a laser coming right out of that hip bone, think it should be shooting straight ahead. Continue. Your hips might be getting a little tired. Even that standing leg might be getting tired. Just got a few more here. Keep that height of your knee. Make sure you're standing up nice and tall. I don't want any kind of slouching or leaning back. One more. Okay, take it down. Change sides. Bring up that knee as high as you can. Lock that bottom leg. From here, how wide can you open up, keeping your hips squared? Then back in. Don't let the knee drop. And try to keep that ankle right under the knee. Doing awesome. We're shooting for about 10 reps here. But you can just follow along with me. Okay, take it down. Next thing we're gonna do, exercise number 3, is hip axial rotations. So from here, you're just gonna continue to, so you're gonna switch legs, stand on the leg, and you're gonna bring up your knee just hip height. So I want you to think if there was a stake going through your knee and your hip, you wanna move from that axis. So try to control that. From here, all you're going to do is you're going to rotate that femur, your thigh bone, into its end range. External rotation, hit the wall. This is my wall here. And then nice and slow, you're going to go to internal rotation, still keeping that point of access. So yours and mine might look a little different. You may have more range, you may have less. Just work with what you got. Nice and controlled. Squeeze in your end range. Where does it stop? And with these, we're gonna do about 5 reps. Take your time here. Try not rushing through the motion. Okay, change sides. Keep that bottom leg strong. Bring your knee up, right in front of that hip joint. Try to control keeping that same height. Move from this point of access. How far can you rotate externally? How far can you rotate in? You should feel, whoo, that stuff light up right in the hip. As you rotate out, you're gonna feel it here. And then when you go to external rotation here, you should feel all this stuff light up. Try to get to that point. So max out your end range of motion. The legs might be getting tired, you're doing great. And take it down. The last exercise is hip 90-90. The way to get into this position is by feeling your hip bone, and I want you to line up your front knee with that hip bone. Then get the bony part of your other hip bone and line that knee up there. Now, depending on your range of motion, you're gonna see how much you need to lean back to be comfortable here. If you have a little more range of motion, you could probably sit upright. If it's already feeling like, ooh, like I'm about to cramp, then you might want to lean back a little so we're not so much into that range of motion. So from here, I want you to drive that front knee down into the floor as you open up your hip as wide as you can. Once you hit your wall, you're going to rotate, still prying the hip open, pivoting on your heels. Flex your toes to your shins and then land. Readjust if you need to, back into hip 90-90. Go ahead, drive that front knee down as you open up your back hip. Lean back as much as you need to, depending on your range of motion. And then land. So keep the motion slow and controlled. Again, drive that front knee down. How high can you open up your back hip? Hit the wall from there. Pry your hips open as you rotate. And then land again. So we're gonna toggle back and forth. Keeping the chest up nice and tall as well. Try not rounding the spine. Reset if you need to once you land. Flex your toes to your shins. And if you're really tight, this might not be a perfect 90 degrees. If you feel like it's a bit much, you can always bring that thigh up a little bit more, even bending your back knee more as well. So explore that, because everyone's hip 90-90 is not always gonna be a hip 90-90. And land. We're gonna go one more back and forth. Last one. And land. There are so many more hip mobility exercises I could show you, but these are some of my favorites and some of my clients' favorites. Be sure to do this every morning to get your day started, and your hips are going to feel amazing. And remember, you can even do these throughout the day, on your lunch break, at your desk, in your cubicle, in the hallway, at the water thingy, in the bathroom. No, just kidding. Stay tuned for my other mobility videos. That way your other joints can feel just as good as your hips.